So Benji's going to be making a big announcement from Molecule's side. So yeah, I'm going to let him get into it.
Thanks, Ella. Test, test, test. Thank you all so very much. It's so great to be here. I'm Benji. I've been with Molecule for about 1.5 years since I left that awesome VC fund, and they let me come and join what is now the coolest team ever at Molecule, and I'm really excited to give you a sneak peek of what we've been working on and why we're working on it. So, like many other people in DeSci, my parents often ask me, so what do you do again? And honestly, I have a pretty tough time answering them sometimes. It's super easy for us to get caught up in the tech we're building and how exciting it is, and you bridge from Ethereum to Base, and you do all these things, and they're like, what are you talking about? So if you guys don't mind helping me out, I would love to ask from the crowd, if you're okay with it, what is the biggest challenge to overcome in scientific research? If you guys want to raise your hand, it's one word. What is the most important thing? Thanks, Paul. That's my boss. Incentives. Cool. So, yeah, Charlie Munger, one of the great minds of our time, vice chairman at Berkshire Hathaway, said, if you show me the incentive, I'll show you the outcome. Dee Hawk, who's the founder of Visa, said, if you can design the right incentives, you don't have to worry about anything else. So I thought starting this talk would be important to kind of analyze what are the incentives in the two fields that we're straddling, which are research and crypto. And if you look at each one, each bullet is supposed to kind of correspond across each kind of target market. But in research, the goal is to achieve intellectual freedom. You want job security, you want tenure. It's really to be able to study whatever you want, right? And in crypto, the goal is to kind of achieve financial freedom. In research, you want to receive citations and recognition from other prominent scientists in your field. In crypto, you want to receive tokens, points, and influence. Publishing is important across both. In research, it's in prestigious journals, and in crypto, it's on Twitter, right? In research, you want to achieve long-term funding, and in crypto, you want short-term gains. In research, you're looking to publish only positive data and findings after you make a big discovery. And in crypto, you want to publish memes and capture mind share all of the time. And in research, you want to pursue knowledge and respect. And in crypto, you want to pursue gains and respect. So I think it shouldn't be a surprise that neither of these fields are kind of aligning with solving real-world problems because the incentives aren't aligned to doing so, right? So I think the main question here that Molecule is trying to solve is where is the incentive to contribute to human progress in either crypto or in research? Cool, so if you kind of boil it all down, what we're trying to accomplish, our mission, is to realign incentives in science and crypto toward accelerating human progress. All the products that we build, whether it's Catalyst or any of the other primitives, is to solve this problem. So yeah, for the past 5 years, since 2019, Molecule's been kind of trying to answer this question. We have a funder who contributes funding to the researcher who develops IP. That IP is granted to some sponsor who gets IP rights, but the question is, what can we give back to the original funder, right? And this has been super important for us to analyze what are the key requirements of that thing that we give back to the funder in exchange for research funding that represents human progress so that we can keep the incentives aligned with generating it, is legal, doesn't get us or anybody into trouble. And 3 is compelling to fund, so people are excited about funding. But also allows the researcher to do what they need to do, change the world and protect their IP. So the first experiment run by Molecule was in 2019. It was an initial iteration of Catalyst, and it went for much more of an open science approach. There was no IP associated with it. It was really more philanthropic with the hope that at one point in the future there would be IP rights associated with it. They used bonding curves to purchase the tokens, and they were purely kind of symbolic. And although it wasn't successful in a financial sense, the real finding here, there's lessons with any experiment, right? There is no negative data. The real finding was that this kind of open science narrative was insufficient to generate excitement about funding research. So several other experiments followed. In 2021, Molecule looked at trying to launch a DAO that is kind of this diversified portfolio of potential IP. And that did seem to be like a compelling value proposition to funders. And Vita DAO has been a raging success. And so trying to capitalize on that finding, Molecule launched BioXYZ and has tried to scale that finding of having funders put money into a DAO that can then go and generate IP as kind of an aggregate. And so in 2023, we took a slightly different approach where we tried to say, rather than tokenize a research area, we're going to try to tokenize an individual project. And this project has been VitaFast, the project at University of Newcastle. And it was also kind of this validation of this new value proposition to funders, which is direct IP rights in an individual project, not just a DAO looking at generating a massive IP portfolio across a research area. So where we are now is trying to scale the finding that we had in 2023, which is that this is a pretty interesting value proposition to provide to science patrons, which is funding individual research projects. So what's interesting about scaling this last model is that it has not been a demand issue. It hasn't been, we have all these great projects and we're just looking for as many people, and we're looking for more people to come and fund them. It's actually been a supply issue. We thought we created these magical intellectual property liquid tokens that a ton of people would be super excited about, but only one instance of an IP token has launched to the market yet. So our goal right now is to scale as much as possible and measure success by the amount of on-chain IP value. And so begs the question, how might we increase this on-chain IP value? And we think that there are a few opportunities. So number one is in bringing liquidity to projects that are funded. So as the BioDAOs have started to deploy capital into research projects, what they find, kind of what we always knew, is that these projects were relatively illiquid, right? I mean, you sit on a piece of IP for maybe 10 or 12 years before you could ever think about selling it to somebody else. And so where we see a huge opportunity is in providing early stage liquidity, potentially as soon as a project is funded. Another is in incentivizing contributions to projects via tokens. So if we can tokenize individual projects, we now have a substrate for incentive to get people to actually contribute to those projects. And the third and last kind of big opportunity we see is in creating legal clarity. So a big part of what we're trying to create is legal infrastructure. And not everybody is a lawyer, but it's still important that everybody understands the rights that they have and the risks that we're taking. And so it's kind of these three places we're trying to focus our efforts on and opportunities we're trying to capitalize on. So in the name of solving kind of these problems and capitalizing on these opportunities, we are announcing to the world the product that we've been building for the past few months called Catalyst. Woo. So we are trying to build the front door to DeSci. In the beta release, we are focused primarily on funding, but the goal is simple. Find projects, support them, fund them, and co-govern the IP and treasury along with other co-funders and contributors. Catalyst has already gone through several iterations with kind of a theme of simplifying the whole system. We've gotten a ton of feedback from a ton of people in the community, for which we're super grateful. A lot of people in this room, a lot of people on the live stream have helped us kind of hone in on our value proposition. But what we really hope to communicate here is an ethos of accessibility, right? We don't just want the people that understand complex DeFi protocols to be able to participate in DeSci. We want anybody, even scientists who are onboarding into Web3 for the first time, to be able to come in, contribute to projects, and basically have a share of the governance in whatever is developed by the researcher. So yeah, I mean, our goal is to onboard the next 1,000 scientists into DeSci, and we think that will come from building products that are more familiar and more similar, simple than products that are more foreign and more complex. Cool. So really, at the end of the day, where all of this bottoms out is, number one, the legal rights that are granted to the token holders, and number two is the quality of the research, right? And so it's really our job here, and what we're trying to accomplish with Catalyst is to be pushing the boundary on both of those items. And so one thing that's important to analyze is, what are the rights that IP tokens give you? You contribute money to this project, what are you getting back? And like I said, our goal is to give something that's legal, that's compelling, and also that contributes to human progress. And so just looking into the rights IP tokens give you, number one is governance. So IP token holders have the right to participate in the governance of proposed licenses and use the proceeds from the IP. So basically, any sort of important decision about the treasury as it pertains to the IP or the money associated with a project, IPT token holders have the right to govern. Number two is a duty of care, basically saying that anybody who holds the token is beholden to the membership agreement. Number three is confidentiality, which should make sense. Number four is access to the intellectual property. So we want to create more of an entry point to the data and the research itself from people who hold the tokens and, enable people to contribute. So, by holding a token, you have a right to access of the intellectual property. And the last one is something that, we've been basically going back and forth with a ton of external legal counsel and gotten a ton of advice on, but it's royalties. So this is really what a lot of people kind of ask us about and where these tokens really bottom out, which is, if the IP is sold, what do the token holders get? And so important to answer this question very, very precisely and say that the IPT token holders can vote in royalties or adopt an amended membership agreement with the consent of the IP owner. So though IPT tokens themselves don't have royalty rights, they are able to amend their own adhesion contract in order to change the membership agreement in the future. So this is a super important value proposition that we hope resonates with people that are excited about funding research. Oh yeah, sorry. Cool, so we'll have a ton of announcements coming up over the next few weeks. Please sign up if this is even remotely interesting to you, because there will be a ton of ways to get involved, and this will only be successful if we get the full firepower of the DeSci ecosystem behind it. So thank you so much, and yeah, looking forward to launching this thing with you guys.